You know, there are some places in the world where ancient stories aren't just told, they're lived. You can feel them in the air, you can see them walking down the streets. And today, we're going to one of those places, the Apulia region of southern Italy, during its most sacred and intense time of year.
See, during Holy Week, entire towns here literally become a stage. We're talking about the squares, the little narrow alleys, the ancient churches. They all become part of a tradition that is so immersive, the line between the past and the present it completely dissolves.
And that's really the heart of it all. This isn't some performance put on for an audience. It's a story that an entire community steps into, both physically and emotionally. They don't just watch it happen, they truly inhabit it.
Okay, so let's start our journey in this little coastal town called Mola di Bari. Now, Holy Week kicks off pretty gently on Palm Sunday. And interestingly, instead of palms, the locals use olive branches, which is a beautiful symbol of peace, but also of their own regional identity. It's a quiet start, but you can already feel something building in the air.
By the time Thursday evening rolls around, the whole mood just shifts, gets heavier, way more solemn. After the Mass of the Last Supper, the town gets ready for one of its most unique traditions, visiting the sepulchre. These are these incredibly elaborate altars of repose that are set up in every single church.
So you walk into these churches, and each altar is just transformed into this deeply symbolic space. They're lit only by the soft glow of candles, they're draped in white cloths and flowers, and they have this pale wheat that was grown in total darkness, which is this amazing symbol of life just waiting for the resurrection. And all through the night, you see families making this quiet pilgrimage, moving in silence from one church to the next. And then, late into that very same night, the first major procession kicks off. This is the procession of the Mystieri, and it tells the story of the Passion using these huge, life-size statues. But look, these are not just statues. Think of them as chapters in a story, and they're carried on the shoulders of these ancient brotherhoods or confraternities. Each one shows a key moment of suffering, and they move at this deliberately, almost painfully slow pace. It really creates this feeling that time has just been suspended.
The atmosphere is just overwhelming. The only sounds you hear are the heavy, echoing notes of funeral marches played by live bands. You have the slow, measured steps, the hooded figures, and the townspeople following right behind them, some of them even walking barefoot. It's like everyone there is witnessing these events happening right now, not 2,000 years ago.
So all of this solemnity, it just keeps building to its absolute peak on Good Friday. If Thursday night was about telling the story, Good Friday is when the entire community feels its ending. This is the real emotional heart of the week, a moment of deep, collective mourning. It's a pretty wild question, right? How does a whole town share one single emotion? But on Good Friday in Mola di Bari, you actually see the answer. The air itself feels thick with this shared sense of loss and deep contemplation. And at the center of all this is something truly unbelievable, a relic that's believed to be a fragment of the true cross, which tradition says was discovered by St. Helena way back in the 4th century. For believers, this isn't just an object, it's a direct, physical connection to the moment of the crucifixion itself. Then, as evening falls, the most powerful image of the whole week appears. It's this strikingly realistic statue of the dead Christ, and it's carried through the streets inside a glass coffin. The candlelight just reflects off the glass, and it creates this incredibly fragile and sacred atmosphere. It's hard to describe. And the whole mood is really captured in the pace. The procession moves so slowly, it feels like time itself is trying to stand still. Behind the coffin, another statue follows, Mary, her face just carved in grief. And the crowd, it's completely silent. The only sound is that deep, resonant music that just unites everyone in this one powerful moment of shared mourning. But this story of suffering isn't just witnessed. In some of the nearby towns, it's actually physically carried. So now we're going to look at Noi Cotagaro and Rutigiano, where the story of the Passion becomes this visceral, physical act of penance.
Here you see the crossiferi, which literally means the cross bearers. These are individuals who, a lot of times, to fulfill a personal vow, carry these heavy wooden crosses through the streets. Their faces are covered by hoods, so you don't know who they are. It strips them of their identity. All that's left is the raw act of devotion itself.
And what's really fascinating is how two towns so close together can interpret the same tradition so differently. In Noi Cataro, it's all about the raw physical effort. You can almost feel the strain of it. But in Rutiano, it's much more atmospheric, almost like a primal ritual. It happens in near darkness, lit only by torches that cast these long, dramatic shadows in this deep, profound silence.
So here's the crucial point to all of this. What we've been looking at are not historical reenactments, okay? They're not performances. They are acts of continuity. They're a living memory, passed down from one generation to the next.
From the storytelling processions in Mola di Bari all the way to the physical endurance of the crocifieri, this is a story that's told not with words, but with footsteps, with silence, with the whole community participating. Here, faith isn't just something you believe, it's something you walk, something you carry.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. These traditions show us what happens when a story is so deeply embedded in a culture that it isn't just remembered, it's physically carried year after year on the very shoulders of the community. It becomes something much more than history. It becomes a living presence.